one of the evergreen song I love so much right there because that song cannot go out of it cannot go out of Rogue. And then we know this Mary I told you we're going to have into a segment. And as you can see, the Buji has let me alone on this segment. I don't mind, no problem. Well, my guest is ready via Zoom this morning, and he's a data analyst. I called most of them tech guys because all of them they belongs to the same family. His name is Joshua Ayan. Big morning and welcome to OGTV Splash this morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much. The pleasure is mine. Night. I'm happy to be here today. Thank you very much.
Okay, talking about the topic bridging gap between the tech and the classroom. So now, what can you say about that? Let's just begin by talking about positioning Nigeria's emerging tech talent between the classrooms and the global industry. How is that possible?
Yes. Thank you very much. I know that Nigeria has talents and we are vibrant people. If you're opportune to dial the people even within and outside Nigeria, because where I based is at the United Kingdom, Manchester, and it's big. I've had the opportunity to speak to people, you know, just not just in Nigeria, even in Nigeria, people from Nigeria, people from outside Nigeria, all over the world. So I've seen that we in Nigeria have so much talent. We have the largest population of young persons in Africa is from Nigeria, and we've got resources to leverage. That is, we have these enormous resources. We have 70% Nigerian population that are youths. We have graduates come out every year, over 600,000 graduates every year. And one of the things I have seen that's going to form the basis of our discussion today is that graduates are not industry ready, really, if that makes sense. So they are not prepared for what is to come. So having said that, it is hard for graduates to integrate into the corporate world. So there's a gap there, really. So these days, it's not about how much you know, isn't it's been about how much you can offer. It's how employable are you? How ready are you? So this topic is not just in Nigeria right now because all over the world, even in the UK, because in the last AI summit in London, the last month, it was something that was discussed. I got a friend who was invited, Richard, and he works with Manchester Metropolitan University. So everyone all over the world is trying to close that gap between the classroom and the industry because we could see that there's a gap between the class. So people, it has a lot to do with curriculum and just
Okay, Lista Iliwal, Kaimi Eli.
yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. So that's about you talk about gap. You said there is of or gap. Let's a lot of people talk about gap between the classroom and the industry. What does the gap actually look like in real terms to you?
Yes. So the gap is like a disconnect between what students are taught in school and what we have in real world, globally and industry. So it has to do with what the school teaches and what the industry actually means. Take a computer science graduate, for example, spending so many years learning computer programming, theory based, but never been to that before, has never has had this hands-on experience of doing the real world thing. So the gap really is in applying what you've been taught. So it's one of the gap is applying what you've been taught. One of the gap is the soft skill, communication, leadership, adaptability. Imagine a graduate that can't use Zoom or can't use Teams. If you ask them to be, some of them can, when they dialogue with it, the lot of things they can't even give. So there's so much that the industry needs to be that the schools have to start to incorporate global exposure as well, collaborations, networking. So there's someone, this schools have to start to make the student understand or have to start to see that picture that the industry needs something is evolving and that our curriculums have to evolve as well. So that's the that I'm talking about in terms.
Okay, oh no, talking about gap, what is really creating this gap? How widening is it? And is it the education system? Is it employers? Is it government? Or the expectations of people are just unnecessarily high? What is really causing the gap?
Yeah. So before I answer that, I'd like to say that Nigerian Nigerian youths and talents or tech talents, emerging tech talents, would have to understand that going to school really is not about passing exams, but we have to understand the real deal. It's just that it goes beyond that. So teachers also or lecturers have to teach with this mindset that it's not just about passing exams. Whereof God is in the UK here, for example, with distinction. I go for interviews and you can't even put for the distinction or your degree. So everybody wants to hear what you have done. They want to hear what it is you had your hands on and not just about your grade. So what is causing this gap really? I've stationed it into about 4 layers. It's not just one thing. So we could talk about one of the first points I'll point today is curriculum, really.
Yeah.
So our curriculum, you see that some of our curriculum these days is not relevant to what we are doing now. So it might be relevant 10 years ago, but not today. So the global industry is evolving these days. If you're not talking AI to the UK now, you're not a tech person. Everybody's trucking the government will involve, putting this kind of money into it. So you see that people have to, the curriculum is also involving all the schools, teaching, incorporating AI into learning down to secondary school, all of that. So our curriculums have to evolve to this ever-changing tech field. So our curriculums need no little or no room for critical thinking, innovation, problem solving, and which are the things that employers really want. So I'll jump quickly, because of time, to the next point, which is exposure. We see that students are not exposed to the industry work. They're not really exposed to industry work, which is making that a gap. So people value and prioritize. So now, apprenticeship, a lot of things to praise that or to that's causing them that now to talk about um no practical exposure of students. So students have to learn to volunteer, have to learn to open themselves up and be exposed really. So exposure is one thing that is causing the gaps. Another thing I could see there is lack of basic infrastructure or need to basic infrastructure, maybe inadequate basic infrastructure to say. So we could see that most schools today don't even have access to the internet, labs, creative spaces and design, licenses. Now, back in the days when I was in school in Nigeria and we see that most schools don't even have live fee for students to use. These are things, the basic things that exposes people and students to the global world. So people should have access to these things. Lack of basic infrastructure is one thing that we are seeing today. It should be done before the services that school should render or should to give to the students or emerging kind. These things age uh, grows for students and for emerging talent. Also, collaboration is another point. That's the last point. So, collaboration, we see that schools and the industries are not collaborating. There's so much gap. There's you are not talking to each other. So, when I was in school here, right, when I did my master's degree, we see that they kept inviting, industry experts to come speak with us time to time. It's incorporating that into our schedule. We see that collaboration. You see that in the dialogue, schools are wanting to incorporate uh, industry experts into a curriculum and bringing them time to time to make sure that we are aligned with what is happening in the global and industry world. So I see those things, those 4 points, not me that anymore. Those 4 points are what I could infer as some of the gaps the office of the class here.
Okay, now you mentioned some few things like the curriculum. Now, if this is to be included in the curriculum, at what stage? And then you talk about the practical aspect of it. When this is being impede into the curriculum, is it the theoretical aspects that should be in the curriculum or the practical aspect? You talk about the inadequate infrastructure equipments that are the tools that they need. Now, all these things, if they are to be put in place, how is it supposed to be?
How are you supposed to be?
Yeah. Do you understand my question? At what stage should all the stage, the curriculum, at what stage should it be included? Is it at the secondary level or from the primary school or at the tertiary? And the equipments that you're talking about, what are the equipments that you feel we don't really have in place that is really causing the gap between the classroom and the tech word?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. So we could see that these days, even from the basic secondary school, even primary school, in countries like China, we see that people are started to develop things from the very, very young age, and they are encouraged. So we have to notice the talents in these young people from the elementary classes, and not like and be able to nurture them to that height which they need to get to support them or give them. Now, for example, we see that when I was growing up in schools, we could see that most times we have some of- some of the schools that manage to have computer labs. You don't dare go there because you don't have too much access to that, or even if you have access, even once in a month or so that exposure is not there. So we need to have that computers have to be made accessible to students. Data, like, I mean, there should be free Wi-Fi for students. I mean, even at the university level. So even within that, when I was in school, within school hours, I mean, if you had around the school, you're able to use free Wi-Fi and all of that. So accessibility to some of these things are very, very basic and very, very, no matter how small, they are very, very important. So those curriculum have to be embedded from the basic level. So from that my friend that spoke at London AI Summit was talking about how the Matos and Metropolitan Qualified University is incorporating a lot of these industry experts and bringing them down and making them a part of their curriculum design. So it's very important that from secondary school, these things to move and evolve up to the university level, because it's very important from the basic to the top level.
Okay, Lord. Putting all these things you've mentioned in mind, what are the practical steps that can be taken to start closing the gap, and then whose responsibility is it?
Yeah. So thank you very much. Uh, I would say it's not just one person's responsibility. It's a joint effort, shared responsibility, really. So I see this responsibility as one of the first I would mention or start with is the government. The government has to set that foundation for people, or by reforming our national curriculum to reflect the global economy and the markets. So they must understand that the curriculum must evolve to match up what is happening in the global markets and our economy and the global economy. So also the government has to support teachers, support lecturers, fund teaching training. So the training is a very big deal here, because if you're working somewhere in the UK, I'll be compared, because that's very obviously that's where I paid. So every month or every 3 months, there's a structured way to for training here. So both, and most times it's not even physical. So you're exposed to these digital stuffs, and everybody's no matter even
no matter how old you are or young you are, you have to just incorporate. And people, the government is introducing you to that techie thing, and somehow you see yourself learning it and all of that. So, training has to be in place. The government has to support in how to play a big role in funds and making funds available, supporting this transformation. And the other thing, how the second point I'm going to raise is educators, the school owners, the school teacher, and the school management really had to have a think and and understand that school is not about passing exams really. So we have to understand that's outcome that really that we want to achieve, which is making the students already prepared for the industry, making the students ready to make that global impact. So we have to have a shift in mentality that move from skill based ready to teach students how to solve real right problems, collaborating and innovating. So the educators, the teaching the school management also have to learn to train their staffs to the current trend. So because every time there is always so my workplace at some point we did a training about the training I did 3 months ago is not the same training the thing that you so there's this current updating. So things are as researches are going on all over the world, things are being updated. So we have to stay in line with these updates. So there have to be a lot of partnership with local businesses and NGOs. So schools have to partner with the industry, partner with businesses, partner with NGOs. You have to teach students to think solution and support them to achieve this. We have to create collaborative classes, instill those leadership skills in. So that you see that a graduate can't even speak, can't even read, can't even these soft skills. Some create collaborative classes, make it engaging, and you see that transformation. So the next point is industries. So industries are supporting these as well. To close these gaps, industries have to be involved in curriculum design. The schools and industry have to work very close together. Industries also uh, support with apprenticeships, internships. Give students that opportunity to have that internship. So in the UK, a degree internship apprenticeship is a very big thing. So where you see companies, I think supported by government, that's government as well, funded by government, and the company collaborative. These are just collaborative efforts where n- not just schools have degrees. You see, industries have their own degree. So the company where I work have a degree apprenticeship where people can pay school fees, and then this school, this my company out there offers them that opportunity to learn and work, and then get paid some stipends while supporting the company. So it's a mutual kind of relationship where it's called degree apprenticeship. Yeah. So
Mr. Tajasha. All right, Mr. Joshua, comparing the UK and Nigeria, do you see Nigeria getting to the level where UK is right now? And before you answer that, Mezion, let me just ask you this. What is the current state of peace in Nigeria and globally? Can you compare where is what is a Nigeria stand as of now?
yeah, I feel that I see it that really, and I know that we can get there definitely. So, um, and that's kind of the reason why we are having some of these sessions, to enlighten the public to know what is available and obtainable in the global world, and how that these policy makers, how that these change makers, the schools, the governments, the students themselves, so that themselves have to learn to expose themselves is or to the students, I mean the government or the educators or all of the stakeholders. It's about also the students building your personal branding from school, creating portfolio. We see, so it's very very achievable. So I see a gap really, but I'm very sure because instead of things in Nigeria, we are developing really. So we are evolving, we and stuff. But I feel that
people need to get more involved in this. People need to understand this more and help supporting closing this gap. So students also have to,
Um, I had an interview sometime back where we an internal interview, and then I went for the interview where it's not a role that I'm very familiar with really, but I had the knowledge. So I went for that interview, and then what I was being asked, the interviewer asked me some questions, and I found that I was not having like much to talk about in the interview, because that was a few years ago. So I saw that because the interviewer told me you have to go and create a portfolio. So how many graduates do they have a portfolio? How many graduates had that personal brand? So if you don't start to incorporate these things into yourself, you can't have it to speak about in the interviews or show or any day you're going, you can't showcase anything. You don't have anything to showcase. You don't have any practical, stuff to speak about. You have done to say to you that you have to say or to be proud of. So I see us getting there in the coming years, but it work needs to be done.
All right. Before I allow you to go on the program this morning, if we were to do something immediately right now to bridge the gap, what would that be? What is that one thing you think of? Maybe people watching out there, we have teachers, we have educators among them, we have so many stakeholders watching right now. So, what is that one thing you would suggest that it should be done and you need that we can do right now?
Yep. One of the things, one thing I would say that we could do is get to work, or have that understanding, have that change in mindset and collaboration. There needs to be a closed gap between the government, the educators, the students, the school management, really generally, and the teachers. So there needs to be like a collaborative effort. People have to work closer together. People have to understand that the world is evolving and our curriculum has to evolve. We have to close that gap. We have to just get to work, understand, and make that practical steps or make that practical effort to get to that stage. That's really, it's not about perfection. It's about growth. It's about evolving. It's about understanding that where we are is not the end point of things are happening globally that we need to match up with. So really, we have to understand this, and this understanding really is the first key point, and then from there we can now start to develop practical preferred steps. So a lot of things can be done really. So collaboration is key. Schools have to collaborate closer to the industry to know what the industry really needs, the skills the real industry. We find that curriculum doesn't really map to what the industry really needs. So when I was at school those days, I didn't even see a relation between what I'm doing and the real world. I see myself writing the Y, the X, or those things on the board, but there's no, you cannot help the students to see that real thing that they could see. Perhaps these things will start to make sense, a lot more sense to them. I see, but we need to collaborate more. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Joshua, I want to say thank you for coming. Thank you for featuring on this show this morning and for discussing positioning Nigeria's emerging tech talent between classroom and the global industry of us. I want to say thank you for being part of the show today. Let me just allow you go. And all right, appreciate you. You're welcome. Well, the show continues will go for